Hey everyone, before we get to today's shows, I just want to ask you for your support. The UCAN Foundation has partnered with MoveOn.org to launch a petition that demands that Netflix and other reality shows put a disclaimer on the front of all unscripted shows. And that disclaimer says that all episodes are for entertainment purposes only, and any content can be edited, manipulated, and presented in any other way for storyline purposes. So please, if you can, check out the link in the description right here. Go add your name to support, and let's get this petition out to Netflix and start making some real change in the industry. Thank you for your support, and thank you for your signature. Now, let's enjoy the show.
I do want to ask you one political question. Do you think
Sure.
libertarian is like a cop-out kind of?
The libertarian mindset, I don't agree with, but it is different than the other parties. What happens when you have unregulated market? This. Are you going through life blind? This is Eyes Wide Open with Nick Thompson. On this podcast, we share knowledge and stories that build human connection while elevating stigmatized societal issues such as mental health, holistic wellness, culture, free speech, and more. All to ensure we show up in the world with our eyes wide open. Hello and welcome to part 2 of our interview on Eyes Wide Open with Danny LoPriore. Danny's a stand-up comedian. He's a musician. He's also a mental health advocate who hosts 2 podcasts. One is Off the Cuff, which is a mental health podcast. And then the other one is with his brother Michael called the LoPriore podcast. So today we're going to veer off a little bit mental health, but we're going to talk a little bit about politics. This conversation for part 2 here was decided while we were doing an Ask Me Anything at the end of episode 1, and he asked me my thoughts on the Libertarian Party. So we kind of go into all things politics on all sides of the spectrum, including what we do in capitalism with the United States, what are the strengths and weaknesses that we have with our country. So this is a unique conversation that really manifested into its own separate episode. So that's why we decided to do this. But before you listen, I ask you 2 things. One, first, like, share, and subscribe. It really helps the show out in the algorithm. Your positive reviews are also greatly appreciated. And then number 2, this is a very nuanced conversation about politics. It's not about right versus left. It's not about libertarians versus Democrats versus Republicans versus Green Party. It's actually a very nuanced conversation about the issues that have stemmed in our political system from just 2 dudes that are living it every single day here in the United States. So I hope that you approach this episode with grace. And then, most importantly, I hope it helps you view the world of politics with your eyes wide open. Well, that's what's so good about when I talk to you, but like even listening to other episodes, it's just so raw. And I think this is such a like real conversation that we're just having here instead of, what's your diagnosis? What are the things? And I think, there's a place for those, and that's good. And sometimes you need to have like the practical advice, but sometimes you need to have the practical conversation that's relatable to people.
Yeah. My thing is this. I'm not a doctor. I'm never going to pretend to be one. I just have weird thoughts and they just come out of my head. And I look at the world a certain way. And I think some people enjoy the way I look at the world and find similarities. We're all looking for acceptance at some point in our lives, whether it's acceptance from other people or acceptance from ourselves. That's the biggest one. Being able to accept yourself was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Me too.
So once I was able to accept myself, I was able to present a version of myself to other people that I think has become identifiable. So people identify with realness and rawness. I've canceled podcasts because I fucking have panic attacks. And honestly, I don't give a shit what a person says. Like, oh, I'm not coming on your show. I'm like, hey man, listen, I get it. You don't have to come on my show, but I'm not in a good space right now. I'm not going to do the show. I
think I told you that on your when we went on your show. I'm like, I always give people like all the grace in the world. I tell them, I'm like, hey, if you need to reschedule, if you're not in the mood, if something comes up, you're not wasting my time. Like, it's okay. You're actually giving me your time, and I'll take it when it works for you.
That's how I am. You have to let people be individuals nowadays. We listen, as much shit as America gets. I still think we're the best country in the world because we can have the individuality that we want to. Some easier than others, but I hope that we're just making strides to understand that people got some shit, and I've
We
been
all
blessed.
do.
Yeah, and I've been blessed enough to put myself in a position where I don't have to go to the office from 9 to 5. So I take those blessings that I have and that I've created for myself, and I try to just give people whatever, whether it's an hour and a half break from just the monotony of life. Life is so monotonous.
So monotonous.
It's monotonous, and it's added monotonous. From the moment where we go into high school, right? It's, what are you going to do? That's the conversation when.
Yeah. Well, that's the question at the beginning is like, usually people have these grand ideas of what they're going to do, and then they get funneled into capitalism, and it's what are you going to do? From like, I'm 14 years old, I'm playing with my action figures. Like, what? I'm not thinking about anything else.
But if you really think about it, though, 4 years later, now you got to make a decision about where you're going to go to school. It's probably the first time, if you're lucky to go away to college. You're going to be away from your parents. You're going to have some individuality now. And this is where, at 18 years old, man, that's where a lot of people start getting weird because, and I mean that in a good way. Like, I started to get weird because I didn't go away to college. I was constantly embarrassed every time I would go to like my friends' houses that were in college, and they'd be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm not doing shit." In my
You're
mind,
making songs about sucking titties.
Yeah, you know what I mean? We try to fit these societal norms. I'm happy that societal norms are kind of going away now. And we're letting people be individuals. I think the more we let people be individuals, we'll get to know people for who they really are, whether they're a good person or a piece of shit. And by piece of shit, it's like, listen, there are jails in America. And all over the world for some crazy shit.
Mm-hmm.
People go to jail every day for some fucking wild shit. And we voyeurism the fuck out of it.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
And it's like, think about that. We'll get more upset about some guy who went into a school and murdered kids, right? It's horrible. It's horrible to think about, and it's become such a societal norm that people make memes about it, jokes about it. Again, Family Guy will make jokes about it. South Park will make jokes about it.
Because it's at this point, it's a joke. Like you have to laugh at it.
It becomes something that's so sad. And it's become such a norm that people have been forced to try and find understanding and levity within these situations. So, like,
what a somber.
Yeah, it's like I try to tell people, it's like, if your life has been so overcomplicated by exterior factors, just take a little time to make sure your interior is doing okay. Because there's going to be something, whether it be a movie that triggers you, like I was talking about those movies before, sad movies, shit on the news. For every 3 good stories on the news, there's one horrible one, and it might be vice versa.
I was going to say, that's generous of you. I think it's probably vice versa.
Yeah, it's vice versa, and we got to not be like neglectful to like the sad stuff that's going on, but don't consume so much of that shit all the time.
Mm-hmm. One of the best things I ever did was so I'm a politics, news, media junkie. Like, I love talking about it. I like being active in it, but man, there was a point, I think it was like 2 weeks. At the end of the year, beginning of the year, I just didn't pay attention to it. And first of all, I didn't know what to do with some of my time, but that was good, right? That was good. But it was, it can just put you in this state of nihilism almost, where you're just like, nothing's ever going to change. Everything's always going to suck. You think about like the shootings that you mentioned a minute ago. I find myself, when I see there's another shooting, another mass the first thing I go is like, well, how many people died? Should that matter? No, but it does, because it was only 5. Well, that's
crazy. And then
it's
like,
awful.
You have to Google like what's the scientific definition of mass shooting,
which I've done.
I have too.
Yeah,
dude. I just saw a dude on Twitter saying that he did coke and had sex with Barack Obama and Tucker Carlson. You know, like this is like
Wait, what? How did I miss that?
Yeah, there was some guy that came out and said he like did cocaine and had sex with Barack Obama on Tucker Carlson. You know, so like the things that we're force fed now is there's going to be more quote unquote labeled crazy people all over the world. So just watch your consumption. You know, parental controls aren't just there for kids. You could set up parental controls for yourself. Sometimes you have to do that. But I do want to ask you one political question. Do you think libertarian is like a cop-out kind of?
So I don't. So I think the libertarian mindset I don't agree with, but it is different than the other parties. In the free market sense, where they're just, so I agree with them, like let people be people, but I think you need to regulate a free market, because when you look at reality TV, for example, that's a free market, right? There's no regulations, there's no rules. They can just do whatever the hell they want. And what happens when you have unregulated market? Right? So I think like the freedom thing is there, but I think that the freedom thing needs to apply to the individuals more so than it needs to apply to like the corporations. So like you have people like the Koch brothers saying they're libertarians, but in reality, they don't want to pay people a minimum wage. They don't want to. So they want to free market, you know, pump their crude ass oil all over the place and never take accountability for it. So yeah, I don't think it's a cop out. I just think I think there's elements. I think our country we need more parties because people don't identify as Democrat or Republican.
Yeah, because the thing that's kind of scary is now it's like, you remember when we were kids, it's like you didn't ask people who you voted for.
Yeah, I got in trouble for that one time.
You know, who'd you vote for? You didn't do it. Now it's everybody tells you who they vote for. It's so weird because I'm a registered Democrat, but once I started doing stand-up comedy, like I remember one time I was in the green room and I was like, yo, am I a fucking libertarian? There's things that like you're so forced to understand because you meet so many people on the road that you go to certain towns where you say a joke and it kills there, and then you could say that same joke in a different place, and because of like kind of the political landscape, it could be a rough night for you.
Yeah. So I can't even.
It's like, you know, it's like I can't sit here and say that the more I look at politics, I can't sit here and say like that I want to pay more taxes the more money I make.
Well, no one but taxes here are branded as a bad thing because we don't get anything for them other than a military that sets up 1,000 bases around the world so we can bully the rest of the world into participating in our way of life.
I would love to pay taxes if you just sent me a breakdown of where every cent went.
Yes. Well, there's like how many trillion or billion did the Pentagon lose track of? It was like, who's doing the accounting over there?
And the thing that's scary too is like, as a 1099er, I have to send you all this stuff. Why even have a social security number?
Great point. I'm with you.
Like, why can't I just put my social security number and then the math that you guys know that I got paid because somebody sent you a W-9 or whatever, and just let me know how much I owe? Why do I have to do all this homework?
Well, you know, it's by design. And, you know, I have, so I work for a Swedish company and my boss was Danish. So he was in Copenhagen. And I remember when tax season was, I'm like so confused because I bought a house and I was just telling him, I'm like super stressed out about doing my taxes this year. And he said that exactly what you said. In Denmark, they send you a thing at the end of the year and you're like, yes, this seems right. No, it doesn't. It's like checking a box, signing it, and you're done. Because they know, and they know here too.
Yeah, they know, and it's just like you just want to audit me, like you just want to audit me and find me. That's what you want to do, because we're trillions of dollars in debt,
right? And in debt to who? We print the money, we print the world currency.
Everyone's like, yeah, we owe China $6 trillion. All right, just print $6 trillion and send it over there.
right?
Who cares? It's all
quantitative easing.
Oh yeah, but no, it's gonna like do this to like the housing market. I said, no, it's not. Just get a bunch of paper.
Mm-hmm.
Just get a bunch of paper, cut in pieces, color on it a little bit, and send it over there. Who gives a shit?
Yep. Modern monetary theory. Have you heard of the term?
No.
Check that one out. Modern monetary theory.
All right. I'm modern monetary theory.
It'll be a good one.
I'll end up looking at that, but
you'll be in that rabbit hole.
Yeah, man. I think, and like I said earlier, like I hope to just segue into what you were talking about. Even like I remember I was watching the episode of like The Bachelorette, and they went to like the suites.
Like towards the end when it's like three people. Yeah.
And I was watching it with my wife, and they were like really into each other. And then something happened in the suites that wasn't like something happened that wasn't good. And they started talking about like, you know, there was just something like she was talking about something that I didn't really agree with. And I was like, I guarantee you she was a Republican. And I Googled her name, and she's a registered Republican. And the guy that she was in there with was a registered Democrat. But you'll never see people talking about that on dating shows because I don't think you're allowed to.
Well, you want to hear something funny? I can tell you that that's not allowed on Love is Blind. There's one line.
I said I knew. I told my wife. I said she said something Trumpy, and he fucking lost his mind. Yeah. And left. And he was like, nah, I can't be with this woman.
Instead of having a conversation. I had a line that slipped through in Love is Blind where I said, we were talking about capitalism. And that stuck with people. Like I got so many messages after that episode. What were you saying about capitalism? What were you saying about capitalism? And I actually went on one of the first interviews I did after the show came out was on Breaking Points on YouTube. I don't know if you're familiar with the show. Yeah, with Crystal and Sagar, because Sagar reached out and he's like, I was shocked to see that you already followed us. I'm like, I'm a big fan. I'm a like supporter and listening to you guys since 2019 when you first started. And he was saying, he's like, I wish they would have like explored that more and how that, and they just didn't want me to talk about it. And they didn't.
Did they yell cut?
No, they just don't show it. Or they'll say, let's do this again, or this isn't the direction to go. Let's talk. And I thought, that was one of the conversations we had was about student loans. And I was just very open. I'm like, honestly, like I pay the absolute bare minimum. It is if I do anything else, it stresses me out. It gives me anxiety. And I think the government's going to have to do something about it because they got us all into this mess. And they didn't want to air any of that. So they didn't want to.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't think I've paid a doctor's bill in like 6 years.
Good for you.
Because I remember one time I went without insurance and I came home with like $40,000.
Right.
I was like, you guys can't expect me to pay this. I remember they were calling me and sending me letters every week. And I remember I said, listen, I'll give you like $1,000 to leave me alone. And they fucking left me alone. Now, I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen. That's the same thing with like people out there that don't pay their taxes. Give them something.
Yeah.
And they'll work with you.
Yep.
Don't just not pay.
It's a bad idea to not pay your taxes.
Yeah. So, as much as like all the shit I was talking about taxes before, I pay my taxes.
Yeah.
But I remember just being like, hey, listen, guys, if you're really honest with them, 1 year I didn't know how to do my taxes as a 1099er. I'm transparent.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I said, I have no idea how to pay my taxes. And they were like, listen, we're going to help you how to do this. You owe us this amount. Let's set up a payment plan for you. And we figured it out. Don't run away from taxes. If you just go to them and say, hey, listen, I don't really know what the fuck I'm doing, but I want to pay you guys, you'll figure it out.
They want to be paid. They want to
be paid. So if they could figure it out and be like, oh, like, all right, we got them on the phone. Let's figure it out. It's the one thing, though, is like I wish at some point I know they're going to make like a super like politically based dating show.
I heard, I think there might already be one or be one in the works. I think that would be, I would love to host that and we would produce it ethically. with normal labor practices, mental health support, and probably some sort of like politics coach we'd have to track down. But yeah,
10 Republicans, 10 Democrats. Like, that would be like an amazing show to watch.
That would be so funny. Well, I'll have to pitch that to Netflix. Oh, wait, I don't think they'll ever talk to me again. I know.
Because I think now it's like how we talked about before, like we can't talk about who we voted for if you get in trouble if you ask. Everyone's so really open now about like who they vote for and shit that if you're going to do it, do it now.
Now's the time. Get it out there before next year.
Imagine that. You do that. I guarantee you that show would sway voters.
100%. And that's one of the things that, Sagar had said to me, and this might've been on my podcast, but he's like, I would have loved to hear more about like how your politics shaped you into who you are and what your beliefs are, because like you're clearly nuanced. And he's like, I knew right away you came from working class just from how you conducted yourself and meeting your family. And so it was just very interesting because I do think people are curious. Those discussions are important.
36.
Yeah.
You were talking about dating young people. Like, what the fuck are you going to talk about?
Right.
This person's never been audited. No. You know what I mean?
And won't be.
It's a crazy thing. It's like, I really feel that the next thing, because if you really think about it, The Bachelor and all that shit, like that shit's still on ABC. Old moms watch that shit.
I know.
Because if it wasn't going to watch on ABC, their demographic has to be wildly
skewed. It has to be so skewed
for them to still be on ABC.
Yeah.
Like what else on ABC does anybody watch? Like NCIS, but like old people watch that.
The Bears Monday Night Football games if you don't have ESPN.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's football and The Bachelor on ABC. That's it.
That's literally it. You know what's funny too is in 2015, 2016, I was dating a Republican. I hate the Democrats more than I hate the Republicans because I feel like I at least know the chaos I'm getting with the Republicans, where the Democrats are just like, we're for everybody getting health care and student loan forgiveness, but we'll never actually do anything about it. Or how many presidents we're going to codify Roe v. Wade? They haven't done it. So it's like, they're just, and somehow got it overturned when they were in control of all three chambers of, it's like, oh, what are they doing? So I hate them more because I feel like they're frauds, but I'm very left. Like I was a Bernie Sanders Democrat. I was Obama before that, even though I think he had a lot of work he didn't do. But that's mine. And so I was sitting there in 2015, 2016, which was so contentious as a left-leaning Bernie supporter dating a Republican. And all I'm going to say is she's a Democrat now. And I don't know how many of her beliefs have actually changed. So what does that tell you about where the parties are?
Yeah, I think it's I feel like there's a lot of blending going on.
Yeah, I agree.
Like you said, I do think there needs to be more parties.
Totally agree with
that. I'll always vote Dukakis.
I like that poor guy still gets brought up all the time,
man. I feel bad. I'm just like, dude, I'll vote for Dukakis now. Fuck it, run. I don't care if you're.
Yeah, why not?
That's the thing, man. It's like they were like, "Oh, do you like want to register to vote?" I'm like, I don't even know what to register now.
I do. The primary. Well, I don't even know. I don't like any. I like Cornel West running in the Green Party, but like I know he doesn't have a chance to win. But like, I don't even know anymore. I'm like, none of this. I don't identify with any of this.
Do you think Trump gets to run? Can you run if you have felony charges?
So I don't know exactly what the rules are, but there's a precedence for people running from jail before. So if I understand this correctly, because Eugene Debs ran from prison in like 1908, maybe.
Yeah,
my
dad was telling me about that.
Yeah,
it's up to him, and he said that somebody's ran from prison before, but 1908 prison that makes more sense.
Well, yeah, but like every indictment, Trump goes up in the polls, and they're just like, but this indictment's gonna really be, and it's like, it's not. Like, the guy's running. Focus on how to beat him instead of eliminating him from the equation. Because I think if the election were today, I think he'd win.
Yeah, I think you'd win too, because like you got Joe Biden, and listen, I'm a registered Democrat, right? We have to have an age limit for presidents.
We have to have something, whether it's age, whether it's cognitive, whether it's a combination of both. Like, I mean, Joe Biden can't get a sentence out.
No, they should have to do the presidential fitness test that they made us do.
That's exactly right.
And if you can't complete the presidential fitness test, you can't run for. You're not in presidential fitness.
It should be. It should be, because, like, have you seen this stuff with like Dianne Feinstein and Mitch McConnell? Mitch McConnell's having strokes regularly at press conferences now, and nobody's like, oh, he's fine. And then Joe Biden comes in last week. He's like, I have no concerns about his ability to do the job. Like, okay, Joe, you're the person we want to hear say he can do the job. You're so trustworthy, and you are the leader and the president that we need. And I'm really just proud of you for getting out that sentence, because that's hard.
It's rough, man. You want to know what it was? It was like, if you look at from Bush to Obama to Trump to Biden, like, that has to be a Mount Rushmore in itself.
It is. It's more like the path to destruction.
You know, like, that has to be a Mount Rushmore in itself. The thing that I always found super crazy about Obama, besides the thing that we just talked about, was he killed so many people when he was
with the drones,
dude. He was so smooth, though. That's where I gave him so much of my respect. I was like, this dude has killed so many people.
And they're all in the Middle East.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And people don't.
It freaked me out. I was like, I remember because when I remember he got booed because he was like, I have no more elections to run. And he was like, yeah, I know, because I won both of them. I was like, oh, he's kind of a savage. And then I was like, oh, I want to like Google like how savage Obama is. And then I saw like how many drone attacks he had. And I was just like, whoa, this guy's killed a ton of people. He increased. So that was his move, right? Was like less troops, more drones. So people are seeing like less troops. They're seeing their family coming home, their friends coming home. We're not sending and deploying people anymore, but that's because we were doing it with drones. We were killing people at weddings. Like it was a horrific thing. And the other thing with Obama is like, we're all murdered.
Yeah. Well, if you listen to Noam Chomsky, he said that I think it was since World War II, every president's a war criminal because I mean, and if you think about it, like even FDR, who's, you know, widely considered one of, if not the greatest president we've ever had, did Japanese internment camps after Pearl Harbor. So it's like, and what are we doing? It's all for the empire. It's all for the empire.
It's all for the empire. And it's like, I watched Oppenheimer, and I did so much like Manhattan Project type like research.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the dumbest person in the movie theater on
it. I don't think that would be the case.
Yeah, I almost walked into Oppenheimer not knowing it was a true story. You know, pretty much. I was like, wow, that really happened. Like, I didn't want to be that person. The fact that this is so weird to me, right? It's like almost like there's three things that were like beyond their time: the fax machine,
which has now stayed later than its time, but yes,
of course. But like the fax machine probably blew the tits off of everybody when that first thing happened, right? That, the moon landing. You know, if some people don't believe it, which is hilarious to me, but whatever, do whatever you want. And then it's the bombs.
Yeah.
Think about how long ago that was. And you start reading about how they practiced it on young soldiers and shit. And like people couldn't, they could, like, their jizz got all messed up and they got like cancer and burns and stuff. Like, you know,
in our own country, to our own people.
This shit is wacky, man.
It's insane.
It's terrifying to really think like how this country was built, and that's like the stuff people care like the least about now.
Oh, I know. Well, I always try to think of it this way, like, because these kinds of conversations, I love having them, especially with people who kind of know and get it. I think so many people, we have such a like divide in class where I think we have people that are like, where's my next meal? How am I going to feed my kids? Where's my next month's rent? How am I going to make my car payment? Food's up 40% or however high it is now with inflation. And they're just like, I can't even think about tomorrow, right? Their next 10 minutes, like we talked about, they're in the next 10 minutes. And then there's the people who don't have to worry about the financial struggles, the class struggles, and they're fine. They're doing their corporate job, most likely, or making, a fine amount of money, whatever that is. And they kind of don't have to worry about those things. So they're just looking at it like, oh God, I don't want to see Trump on the news and his tweets every 5 seconds and his little, rants and his State of the Union. Like, I don't want to deal with any of that. So I'm going to vote based on that. But there's like fundamental economics that are underlying even Joe Biden's, the dissatisfaction with Joe Biden right now. It's all on economics and the fact that he like died 10 years ago and they're still trotting him out there.
It's all about money, dude. It all comes down to money, and people at the grand scheme of everything, even like rights and foundations and people trying to get liberated and get the same rights as everything. It all comes down to money, like donating to these things or donating to this thing, or it's all based on the economy. It's not just based on like somebody signing a piece of paper.
Right. What do you think of this? Is my new, like, I hate these. So I go to the Jewel Osco, which is our grocery store here in Chicago, the one closest to me. And here I am. I got some meat. I got some vegetables. I got some coffee, $60. I don't even have like a bottle of wine or bottle of tequila or anything good. $60 for like maybe 3 meals. And then it's like, do you want to donate to this organization? I'm like, here's an idea. Why don't you donate to this organization, giant corporation? Yeah. Why are you nickel and diming me when I'm paying $7, $8 for, a pound of ground beef? Like,
well, it's also like that for me. Like when I go to like Petco, my dog's food is like $60.
So is mine.
And they're like, hey, what's up? You want to give $1 to this dog? I was like, no. I was like, I can't afford it. I can't afford to give that $1. And my favorite thing to always say to panhandlers is when they'll be like, hey, like, you have $1 or you have some change or whatever. And I'll give them $1 or whatever. And they'll be like, oh man, like, you have like anything a little more to help out? I'm like, dude, if I give you more, I'll be sitting right next to you. And they kind of seem to respect that sometimes. And they'll be like, I've gotten a good couple laughs out of that. I go, dude, if I give you any more, I'm going to be sitting right next to you.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And they're just like, no, I feel you. They're like, all right, man. Like, thanks, man. I was like, that's all I got, man. That's all I got.
Yeah. There's sometimes. Oh, go ahead.
No. I was saying, you got to be careful, man. You go to these Whole Foods and these Petcos and all this shit, man. Stop. Even when people ask me like, oh, hey, you want to donate to this? I'm like, what percentage goes to the kids?
Oh, totally.
That's my big thing. I'm a big Karen when it comes to that.
No, that's not a Karen. That's being responsible. A Karen would just give it because it's the Habitat for Humanity, even though only 10% of the money they raise goes into building houses for the houseless. And it's crazy. I actually learned about that. I had a job where I had to build out our corporate responsibility plan at a startup. And I started researching these different organizations that kind of align with our mission. And I'm like, where's the money going to? Where's the money going to? And like, that's one thing with the UCAN Foundation is I'm very like, we need to track every single dollar. We need to put some standards around ourselves because this isn't about, there's no profit incentive. Like, obviously you need to like operationalize and yeah, right. No kidding. But that's the point. Yeah. And the point of it is to help people, not to profit and line your pockets. But it's just wild. Or you have like all the charities of the rich, the like ultra rich, like Bill Gates, the Clinton Foundation. Those things are just funneling money somewhere else. It's hiding wealth. It's so bad.
It's so scary to think about. Like every dude I know with a nonprofit is rich as fuck.
Not me.
You know what I'm saying though? It's like, oh, what do you do? It's like, oh, I run NPOs. I'm like, dude, you have a fucking Rolls Royce. Like, how do you run an NPO? You know, it's
Because
right
10% of their money goes into whatever the cause is.
Yeah, because and then you look at it too. It's like fucking Joel Olstein or whatever that guy's name is. You know what I mean? Like this guy's driving around in this, and this guy wouldn't even like shelter people in his church.
Right. And he's got a mansion bigger than his mega church.
What a fucking piece of shit. You know what I mean? And it's like, this is why, man, you can't put your trust in these humans.
Mm-mm.
They're just humans. They're just humans. That's why I tell people I'm jealous of the people that live sometimes out in the remote parts of America. We only really focus on the Californias and the New Yorks and the Floridas or whatever. And I remember I did a set in Pennsylvania. I was like, you guys are important. You guys are like one of the most important states in the entire country.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, you guys don't know the power that you have in the state of Pennsylvania. You guys, because I remember I was telling them, I was just like, oh yeah, Trump's like declaring victory, and like Pennsylvania was like, oh, hold on a second.
Yep.
You know, like Pennsylvania is the ill, like, yeah, we'll get back to you. You know, they're the latest person they're the last people to text America back. So, you know what I mean? They're just like, oh yeah, what up? My bad, I was asleep. You know, like if you really think about it, like these swing states,
they hold all the cards.
They're the most powerful states in the world.
Yep.
Like fuck New York. You know what I mean? The craziest thing about New York is so blue, but like if you drive through Long Island, you wouldn't think so.
If you drive anywhere that's not Chicago and Illinois, you get south maybe 15, 20 miles, and it's like, let's make America great again. Yeah, that's it is.
It's really it's so weird to think about. It's like, wait, we're blue? I said, I don't know about that.
I feel like even California, there's more red than you think if you look at a map of like the counties broken down after an election.
Yeah. Well, the first thing is California should be its own country. It's way too fucking.
So should Texas.
Texas should be its own country. But didn't we like buy Texas from Mexico?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question.
I think Texas was like originally a part of Mexico. If I'm sounding stupid or not, if you want to look,
I'm looking. I need someone to fact check.
Yeah, I had these Rain Man moments but they're either incredibly true or incredibly false. I'm opposite Rain Man. Like if I was Rain Man in a casino, I'd be hitting on 20.
Oh, actually, Mexico ceded nearly all of the territory now included in the U.S. states of New Mexico, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, California, Texas, and Western Colorado for a mere $15 million.
Yes. Yeah, we bought them.
Wow. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. Wow. Isn't that so American that we just buy land from Mexico?
But say, hey, what's up? You want how much you want for all this?
We'll give you 15 mil.
It's the biggest capitalist shit in the world. You really think about it? They just walk over to Mexico and just be like, how much you want for that?
Seriously. Mexico, I don't know, 15 million?
Just give us like 15 million bucks. That's crazy to think about that we just literally walked around. Like, that's the weirdest thing. Like, I don't look at, listen, if anyone from Alaska is listening to this, I love you guys. Hawaii, I know, is really going through it. Like, you know, I don't mean this to be offensive, but are those really states?
Technically, yes, but I hear you. Like, you know,
why can't we just push them to get stuck to us a little bit?
Build a bridge, maybe. I don't know. Something.
Build a bridge, a cool tunnel or something. Like, you're just asking places I'm sure Hawaii does fantastic with tourism, you know, not now, obviously, with the wildfires and stuff, but it's too far.
It is so far.
That was such a weird annexation, if you really think about it.
Yeah. And isn't it closer to Australia or something than it is to the States. I'm going to fact.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
Yeah,
true,
I know.
but
It's just, Sarah Palin could see Russia from her house.
oh God.
So like Russia, and then you have Alaska. Like Alaska should be its own country, and I think Hawaii should be its own country. Just make them commonwealths.
Isn't Alaska? I feel like Alaska just kind of does their own thing anyway.
Yeah, nobody cares about them.
Nobody cares. They don't care.
Alaska. Well, like, what's the population in Alaska?
25.
How many people do you think really live in Alaska?
I don't know. That's a good question.
As of 2020,
maybe like 100,000 people, 500,000 people, 600,000,
700,000.
Okay, that's not.
Yeah, that was as of 2021.
Okay.
I don't know how people procreate.
Well, I mean, it's dark like half the year, so.
Yeah, like it's the craziest thing is like it's past like British Columbia. Like it doesn't make sense.
Right. It's so weird.
That's just capitalism, man.
It is. It is.
Why would we want that though? It's like what things do we get from Alaska?
Oil.
Oh, there's oil in Alaska?
Yeah.
Then now it all makes sense. Now it all really makes sense.
Yeah. I think that's Alaska's North Slope has responsibly produced 18 billion barrels of oil.
Now I see why Alaska's around.
Yeah. Same reason we run the Middle East.
This country's so fucked.
It's so fucked up. So fucked up. I actually before we go though, I know you've asked me a lot of questions already over the two-parter now, but is there anything else that you wanted to ask me before we go off?
The last question that I wanted to ask is, if somebody came to you with a huge amount of money, whatever in your mind is a huge amount of money, and said, we want you to do another reality TV show, would you do it, but you couldn't control what was going on behind the scenes?
I wouldn't. I mean, I say that, but then I'm like, how much? Like for $5 million, if Netflix was like, here's $5 million, shut up and go away.
Yeah.
Would I do it? I don't think so. I like to think I'm not motivated by money, but I've also never had that much money put in front of me before.
Yeah.
So
I'm not motivated by money either, is because I've never really had that much.
Right. Exactly. I just kind of want to live my life. But then I'm like, if they gave me $5 million, I could keep $1 million, live off of that for 5 years, and then just have the other money making money for me. I don't know.
Capitalism.
And then I don't have to like talk about this stuff that's like re-traumatizing all the time and all of this stuff. I don't know. But I would only do another reality show if it met some basic needs that they're not in a position to meet right now.
I hear you. Because you don't know what it is. I always ask like things, because that's a question I would ask myself. Like if
is there amount of money for you to do something that you wouldn't do for that amount of money?
Hell yeah, dude. I have guys DM me like every day, like, yo, I'll pay you $500 to hear you fart.
Are you serious?
Yeah, 100%.
Why?
Because I farted on like a couple of my podcasts before. Like my brothers, I do a podcast with my brothers, and like sometimes they fart into the microphone, and I guess people see it, and they'll be like, "Yo, I'll give you $500, $900, $1,000 for you to just like send me a video of you farting."
Why? I mean, dude, have a can of beans and make that money.
Yeah, man. Hey, listen, man. Ain't nothing gay about getting paid.
No, not at all.
I tell people. I told people, we just did an episode about it. I was like, this ass is for sale. I don't care what anybody says. Somebody wants to be my sugar daddy for farting, sign me up.
And that's not hurting anybody. No, that's the thing.
No. I mean, the only thing that I would feel bad about it is kind of portraying some like prolonging somebody's like kink or whatever, but I'm not a kink shamer.
No, me neither. Do you? Just don't include me.
Yeah, just or just pay me.
Yeah, or that.
Like if my wife came to me and was like, "Listen, I want to sell feet pics," I'd be like, "Let's do it."
Get that OnlyFans going.
Yeah, as long as it's not detrimental to like the future of like my life and kids. Like somebody, like a friend of mine came up to me a couple days, and this is just so you guys know, this is what straight dudes ask each other. How much would you have to pay to be in a gay porn? That's what he asked me. And I was like, dude, it would have to be a lot because mentally I would be doing something that is not natural to me.
Right.
So I don't know if you could put a number on that. And then plus like it's Googleable and my kids would see it or my parents would see it. I'd be worried if a straight porn got out about me.
Right. But after your rap about titties, you're already ruined on the internet. So
yeah, so many people have honestly have come up to me and been like, dude, like I appreciate you like being openly gay. I'm like, guys, I'm not gay. It's character, guys. So yeah, because like I remember I did it's just have the last thing I'll say before we get out of here is whatever it is you're doing in life, don't take it too seriously.
Great advice.
We're all gonna die. Just don't traumatize the people around you.
Yeah.
Be a good human being. Work on yourself. Get through those minutes in the day where you could build up those W's. And realistically, if you do everything that you can and to be successful, odds are you'll find some success. It doesn't have to be the astronomical. Stop setting these crazy astronomical limits for yourself. Find something that you like to do, be as best as you can at it, and live a comfortable life. Because people get upset and sad and hate themselves because they're not multimillionaires and doing all this stuff. I'm in what I'm into to be comfortable. To go on a vacation with my wife every once in a while. To be able to, go out to dinner with friends and not have to fucking worry about the check. Little stuff like that. Strive for those. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Life's too serious enough. Have a drink if you drink. Have a smoke if you smoke. If you don't, have a good laugh and then just enjoy the ride because life's fucking sad enough.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah,
just take it as it comes. That's another. I always say, I'm like, you know what? Take the day as they come. Control what you can. Shed the rest.
Yeah,
just let it go.
I live by one mantra. If I got it, I got it. If I don't got it, I don't got it. That's just how it is. You can't live your life so fiscally like irresponsible. But just live your life one day at a time. Just make smart decisions.
And yes, one day at a time, 10 minutes at a time.
Yeah, make 5 smart decisions, and if you make one bad decision, just make sure it's the smallest one. We're all going to make bad decisions. Stop putting so much stress on yourself, and just chill out. All right? Just breathe.
I like it. Well, I cannot thank you enough for the extended amount of time that you've given me today. But you've got some tour dates for your stand-up coming up. What are some of those tour dates, and then where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm on the Dukakis 2024 tour right now.
You're his opening act?
Yeah, I'm his opening act. I'm his running partner. So September 21st, I'm in Long Island. September 27th, I'm in New Brunswick, New Jersey. October 10th, I'm in London, England. October 1st, I'm in D.C. October 1st, I'm in D.C. October 10th, I'm in London, England. October 15th, I'm in Belfast, Ireland, UK, Northern Ireland. Trying to still figure that out.
That's amazing.
And then November 11th, I'm in New York City at the Gramercy Theater. Then I'm in California 13th, 15th, and 16th in the LA area. So you guys could all come and hang out. And we'll talk more about farting for money.
There you go. And the link to get tickets and all the socials will be in the description. So
awesome.
Thanks again so much for coming on.
Anytime. Like I said, anyone that comes on my show is a family member to me. So I'm just hanging out with the brother. So that's it.
Heck yeah. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Eyes Wide Open. If you enjoy the show, the best way to support us is by sharing or dropping a review. For more information and content, check out engagewithnick.com or find me on Instagram at nthompson513. Don't go through life blind. Do the work so you can show up in the world with your eyes wide open.